How did the bear get frightened by ibexes? How many friends does a porcupine have? How did the 40 girls escape from the enemies? How to get from Sayram to Ugam? Why the mountain system of Western Tian Shan was included in the UNESCO World Heritage List? Along what trails does the snow leopard go? Our permanent TV expedition Outdoor KZ will try to answer these and some other questions. The nature of Kazakhstan is rich and diverse. Mountains, steppes, deserts and forests for centuries were the best friends for those who loved and understood their native land. They gave people food, shelter and asylum from the enemies. Over time, our way of life has changed, but nature still generously shares its wealth with us. Today, landscapes and biological diversity attract tourists and fans of active recreation to Kazakhstan. Together with a permanent Outdoor Kazakhstan TV expedition, you will visit the most beautiful natural, historical and cultural tourist locations in Kazakhstan and see how experienced travelers cope with the difficulties of nomadic life. The Western Tian Shan is one of the largest mountain systems in the world. It crosses the territories of 4 countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and partially Tajikistan. Different types of landscapes and zoogeographic zones are connected here. The science of ecology calls those places with the word ecotone. In July 2016, the 4th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee included the Western Tian Shan Mountains in the list of World Natural Heritage. When looking at the slopes of the Western Tian Shan Mountains from afar, one may think that there is a usual coniferous forest there. But when come closer, one will notice that these were not regular fir trees, but huge tree-like junipers called archa by Turkic peoples. In the northern Tian Shan, juniper is a small shrub, but here it forms real forests, which look like bewitched oak woods, inhabited by jinns from oriental tales. In addition, meeting an Indian porcupine will not seem real to any southerner, but next to it, in fact, a typical representative of the mountain taiga fauna, an ordinary stag can pinch the grass. Here indeed, as in the Edge of Miracles, the east meets the west and the north meets the south, forming a bizarre mosaic of life.
Западный Тянь Шань – место без сомнения легендарное.
The mountain range of Ugam, no doubt, is a legendary place. For those who are interested in nature or traveling, geographical names of Sayram, Ugam, Aksu-Jabagli or the Talas-Alataur mountain range sound like a password. They seem to be a secret pass to an eastern fairy tale. This place reminds some kind of a fissure between the worlds where fantastic creatures live. For example, naturally, juniper is a small shrub, while here there are huge trees of it. They are inhabited by porcupines and 1.5 meter long poreless lizards. On the one hand, it seems as you have been to the Pamirs. On the other hand, you can find the same northern animals as in the Altai taiga. The latest research has shown that the Western Tian Shan is the birthplace of many kinds of fruit trees, and the famous Dutch tulips were deducted from the water lily tulip, which was brought to Europe by Dutch merchants in the early 16th century. This unique biological and landscape diversity is protected by employees of the Sayram Ugam Natural Park and the Aksu-Jabagli Nature Reserve. If nature reserves are usually created in order to protect individual reference areas of wild nature from human exposure, national parks, on the contrary, are called upon to create conditions for gentle human communication with wildlife.
Sayram Ugam мемлекеттік ұлттық табиғи паркының тағы бір филиалы, бұл Төлеби филиалы. Төлеби филиалының жер көлемі.
There are 3 branches of the Sayram Ugam State National Natural Park, and the Tolebi branch is one of them. Its total area is about 45,000 hectares. The animal world of this park is diverse. Many rare animals living here are listed in the Red Book. These are the snow leopard and the Turkestan lynx. For today, the park is engaged in their protection and preservation, as well as in the study and restoration of the biological diversity of the flora. In addition to previously planted plants, additional units of seedlings are being planted here. Now we can say that the nature of this amazing land is under our protection. The Outdoor KZ TV expedition started its acquaintance with the Sayram Ugam Natural Park from the Tolibi branch. In order to get to the valley of the Sayram Su, it is necessary to turn off the Almaty-Shymkent highway towards the village of Kaskasu. The road is perfect all the way, and our expedition reached the entrance point of the national park in 1 hour. Today, our permanent TV expedition Outdoor KZ is accompanied by experienced conservation specialists, the head of the Department for the Reproduction of Wildlife of the Sayram Ugam National Park, Yeskin Oragbayev, and the game biologist Nurjan Akimbekov. They have been working in the park for a long time and often accompany environmental tourists, so they are aware of perfect season and place for taking photos of wild animals. The mountain ridges of Ugam and Talas are meeting at almost a right angle in 20 kilometers in the area of the Sayram mountain peak. Numerous tributaries of the Sayram Su river flow down the peak. The expedition is going to rise to the sources of one of such tributaries called Sayram Ugam. Tonight, Outdoor KZ members will stay on the cordon in relatively comfortable conditions, but starting from tomorrow, severe fieldwork begins. Our friends Nurjan and Yesken will conduct a visual survey of ungulates in the upper reaches of the river. Meanwhile, Sasha and I will try to shoot how this will happen. There are several survey methods, but in this situation only a visual one is possible. On the one hand, it is easy, you just need to walk around and look through binoculars. But on the other hand, it is the most difficult one. First of all, it requires a person to be in a good shape, because it is necessary to walk as much as the guys do. Secondly, an amateur will stare at this slope through binoculars for an hour and won't see anything, unlike Nurjan, who sees an ibex from a 2-kilometer distance. From here, even with binoculars, these animals are of a pinhead size. The road from the cordon stretches for several kilometers along the mountain serpentine and rests on a dead end. Then we need to go on foot. In the upper reaches of the river, the TV expedition meets a group of inspectors planting seedlings of wild apple trees. Their fruits serve as an excellent feeding for wild boars, bears and other animals. Trees are grown in a special nursery. Several thousand young apple trees are being planted each spring. Approximately 60% of them take roots. Environmental and youth organizations are willingly participating in reforestation activities. Resting in the mountains from the city noise and fuss, school children and students learn to treat the nature of their native land with love and respect. First thing in any expedition is to make an exploration. Choose a convenient place for the camp and an advantageous position for watching the animals. The survey group goes up the gorge of Sayram Ugam. Every 100 meters, the guys stop and carefully scan the slopes with their binoculars. In the afternoon, the animals are usually inactive, lying in the shade, hidden in the folds of the rocks. It seems like Yesken noticed some movement on the slope. It is difficult to discern what it is from such a distance. Finally, 2 grey figures come out of the bushes to the meadow. Now it's clear that these are roe deer. There were 2 roe deer. They went into the juniper. They're coming out again. There are 2 more running away. No sooner had the guys taken the video of roe deer as Nurjan noticed mountain goats, Teke, nearby. A roe deer and an ibex are neighbors. They live next to each other, but figuratively speaking on different floors. Sometimes it happens that a roe deer goes up a floor above and an ibex goes down. then they can be seen on one landing. Roe deer usually keep in the lower and middle mountain belt, and ibexes live in the upper belt of the forest and the alpine zone. In the western Tian Shan, ibexes live at the height of 3,500 meters. Roe deer and ibexes have different interests and different ways for escaping predators. If roe deer are excellent runners, athletes, then ibexes are rather climbers. There are 3 roe deer and 2 ibexes opposite to us. Now we will show them to you. And this economic fatty is a real champion in the struggle for the survival. He dwells everywhere. Badgers can be found in all landscapes and climatic zones of Kazakhstan. They are omnivorous and easily adapt to living on alpine steeps, in the riparian jungle, in the steppe and even in deserts, if there are any sources of water. While the guys are watching ibexes, someone small and nibble is watching them. This must be an alien snake-eyed skink. This small and brave lizard lives only in the mountains of the Tian Shan, Pamir and Altai. And these are snowcocks. They're also called mountain turkeys. There are 2 subspecies of them in Kazakhstan. Altaic one in Altai and Himalayan in all other mountains. A snowcock is a too complicated prey for a young wolf. For the wolf cub, it is better to practice catching mammoths. It turns out that hunting for mammoths is not much easier. While a family is feeding, one stays on guard, and if a predator appears, the watcher immediately warns of a danger with a loud whistle. Ibexes are not afraid of the young wolf at all. He also does not make any attempt to attack them. Even small, ignorant wolf cubs know that take care are the world's best mountaineers and at the slightest danger instantly climb up the sheer cliffs. Wildlife is full of danger. The enemy can sneak not only from the ground, but also from the air. Ibexes are worried, but this time it is a false alarm. They cannot be afraid of snowy vulture Kumai. He is a scavenger. Deep snow still lies in the alpine belt above the forest zone. Sun has already warmed the land and all the inhabitants of the gorge have come out of their holes and shelters. Here is a young viper sunbathing.
При учете диких животных очень помогает современная техника.
Modern technology is very helpful in surveying wild animals. While we are able to watch the slopes with binoculars for several hours a day, photo and video traps can control the path 24 hours a day for a whole month if there is enough battery power. The survey group sets photo traps on the trails along which snow leopards and ibexes usually go. Any photo trophy is valuable and will be used to monitor the animal world of the natural park. Still, the main goal for the guys is the snow leopard. Who on earth does not want to get a picture of that graceful cat? No wonder the famous documentalist George Schaller said, "There are more crowned people in the world than those who are lucky enough to shoot a snow leopard in the wild." Of course, photos obtained with a video trap are not as unique as the live video, but nevertheless, they're of great value. For now, a new type of tourism in national parks is developing. Tourists come and install photo traps on rare animals, and they are very happy if they manage to capture a rare animal and get a picture. Different communities and some kinds of interest clubs are being created in social networks, and people compete whose pictures are better. And this is the best advertising for the natural park to attract tourists.
Ну а для национального парка это создает условия для привлечения туристов.
Snow leopards usually move along the same paths. They walk around their hunting area on average once in 10 days. No traces of these rare animals are left on this stony ground, but Nurjan and Yesken, who have been tracking their wards in the area for several years, even in summer know where the tracks of snow leopard could be. The traps are installed. It will be necessary to check them in a few days, and now it is time to set a camp. It is impossible to forget about small everyday conveniences, even on trips. After all, a well-established household is the basis for the success of any expedition.
И вот мы наконец попали в царство горных козлов.
Now we finally reached the world of mountain goats. Both on the right and on the left we see small herds of teke. For the morning we have counted in total 60 of them. From one point of view, this is a very good indicator. In winter, the guys from the national park have been putting photo traps on this trail and managed to take a picture of a snow leopard, so we also have a chance. We chose a picturesque meadow full of alpine flowers for our camp, and water lily tulips give it a special charm. Cooking is a creative process, and there is always a place for culinary deeds, even in expeditionary conditions. In the morning, the survey group continues investigating the upper reaches of the gorge. Individual groups of ibexes go slowly along the southern slope. It is impossible to get closer to them. The guys are moving up the gorge, hoping to find a more favorable camera angle. Suddenly, Nurjan notices a bear on the slope. The animal stands on a rock, watching for ibexes. Out of bushes, a small fluffy lump immediately rolls out. It's a bear cub. It turns out that this is a female calf pair. They begin to slowly go down the rock and approach the herd of ibexes. The female bear and the cub stop at the top of a small hill. Taking a convenient place for watching ibexes, she decides to rest, and the bear cub is full of energy. He wants to play. We just saw a completely amazing scene. Here on this slope, a herd of mountain goats, teke, is grazing. And from the top of the cliff, the bear with the cub were approaching this herd. She got closer 100 meters and laid down. And we were waiting for the hunt for ibexes to begin. But she continued to lie on this hill, while ibexes were slowly approaching her themselves. And when they had already come closer at about 30 meters, the bear got frightened and ran up the rock with her cub. It turns out that the ibexes can also frighten a bear. There were 30 goats in the herd, but there was only one young bear. She was frightened of ibexes. It also happens. The she-bear is young and there is a whole herd of ibexes. That is why she got scared and ran away. Many representatives of the carnivorous bear tribe are determined vegetarians. Hunger can make them look for food through predation. However, when there is enough food, they prefer to get along with plants. There is a special calculator built into the nervous system of each animal, allowing them to accurately estimate energy costs and risks. Persecution of the prey is always associated with high energy losses and threatens with unexpected dangers. If the beast is full, it does not want to seek any adventures. Surprisingly, I thought the bear would hunt those teke, but she got scared and ran away. Valleys of the Sayram and Ugam rivers are separated by the Ula mountain pass. A meter layer of snow still lies here, but it is possible to walk on it. The snow has compressed and turned into an ice-hard fern. The period of avalanching has already passed, but it is especially dangerous being in the mountains in the middle of March. The snow layers are soaked in moisture to such an extent that they could break down under their own weight, destroying everything on their way. Such avalanches are called wet. They're the most insidious and unpredictable. Usually, animals instinctively feel an avalanche danger, but sometimes they fail to do so and also perish in avalanches. A powerful avalanche has come down from the Ula mountain pass. During the avalanching about 3 weeks ago, it has fallen on a Teke mountain goat. The guys dug up the carcass somewhere there. Typically, from year to year, avalanches descend along the same routes. However, sometimes they break in completely unexpected places. Massive streams of snow tear out huge trees with roots and turn out horse-sized stones. Even during the season of low avalanche danger, it is necessary to move very carefully under the snow ledges. During this season, it is possible to get to the Ugam Valley from the valley of Sayram Ugam along the ridge crest of Karjantau. It must be going a compass, but there is nothing else to do. During the descent from the main watershed of the Karjantau, the TV expedition Audokizi stopped to have a snack at the fresh spring, near a group of bright red calcareous residual mountains. The locals call them 40 girls. The old people say that during the foreign invasion, 40 girls were hiding in this gorge, and when the enemies found them, the girls, in order to preserve their honor, turned into the red stones. The landscapes of the Ugam Gorge are not similar to anything. This is a special type of mountains which can be found only here. Unfortunately, now most of the local beauties and wonders are inaccessible to us because it goes about 2,000 meters, there is deep snow everywhere. But we will still try to go horsebacking on the right bank of the Ugam to the tableland. There's also snow lying there, but we'll go as far as we can. If it is too difficult, we will return. Along the steep serpentine road, the team goes up slowly towards the tableland. A barely noticeable path twins between the rocks and the ridges, overgrown with apple trees and tree-like juniper. In some areas, horse riders have to lead the horses on the stream. Specially trained horses cleverly climb the stones like real mountaineers. In the mountains, the weather often changes. The daily temperature fluctuation here can reach 30 degrees Celsius. A bright sun was just shining, suddenly grey clouds begin creeping from behind the crest and the rain comes pouring down. Now we have to stop and encamp. Even in summer, when climbing highlands, it is always necessary to take a good sleeping bag and warm clothes. The rain turns into snow at night, but in the morning the snow melts quickly, the fog dissipates and the sun comes out again. It is necessary to dry our clothes and check all the equipment. There are still several kilometers left to the tableland, but they are the most difficult ones. Here and there snowdrifts block the way. It takes a long time to find the opening between the snowfields. But here finally is the tableland. What a disappointment! It is completely covered with snow. The morning snow crust can bear a man but not a horse. There is nothing else to do. We will proceed on foot. It seems like the guys have a fellow traveler. The scarab beetle is hurrying somewhere along the snowy field. Finally, the group gets to the sheer drop. The Ugam, looking like a silver snake, shines at the bottom. A wide panorama opens around and above. There is no better place for watching wild animals. It did not take us long to wait. Taking a closer view, the guys noticed 2 male ibexes on the slope 300 meters below. We can try to approach them closer. The main thing is not to scare them away. A whole herd appeared from behind the heap. Ibexes are dragging in chain. A young goat goes first, and a huge male with massive round horns takes an honorable second position. The survey group carefully records not only the number of animals, but also the sex and age of each species and their location in the line. This data is needed by the scientific department of the natural park to determine the sex and age structure of the whole goat population. Scientists are interested in how the social hierarchy of the herd of ibexes is being formed. Who decides to move from one ravine to another? Who goes first? Logically, it is the alpha male, but now we see that the alpha male with huge horns goes in the middle of the herd.
Много раз приходилось наблюдать за стадом козерогов.
I used to watch a herd of ibexes for many times. It has always been interesting for me what is the social hierarchy in the herd and in what way it is manifested. For example, a herd moves from a slope to a slope. Who is the commander? Who decides to change the site? Who goes first in the line? Alpha male? Nope. The first, as a rule, are young species. The goatlet goes first because a snow leopard in ambush may wait a herd on the trail. The big take-care goat is not a big fan of risk. That's why he managed to live to such an authoritative age. This sounds cynical for us, but for the population of ibexes, the alpha gene of a male is more valuable than that of a young kid. The goatlet may not stay alive till spring, so they let him go first. Nature is a great accountant. All the time it counts on an ultra-precise calculator what is advantageous for the preservation of the population and what is not. Even such a trifle of who is the first to go in the line is not an accident. It is an instinct built into the DNA by the millennia of natural selection. For example, would our ibex be a gentleman and would not hide behind the youth, he'd be eaten by snow leopards with all his gentleman genes. And a goat that walks in the safe middle will surely leave its genes, and they will be fixed in hundreds of generations. The smallest behavioral trait, increasing the chances of its conservation in generations, will self-reproduce in a geometric progression, unlike the decreasing one, which will disappear after a few generations.
Редуцироваться и через несколько поколений исчезнет.
The TV expedition has been in the Sayram Ugam National Park for a week only, but it seems like eternity. We happen to see so many interesting and insightful things. It's time for our dog KZ to say goodbye to its new friends, but we need to check the traps before leaving. The yield of the photo traps is extremely rich. The photo of snow leopard, even taken at night and in the poor quality, in any case is a valuable photo trophy. The bear smelled something but did not understand what smelled so strange. The female roe deer is curious about who was hiding in the burrow. The fox, furtively looking back, went to the neighboring coop. And here is the owner of the burrow. This fatty, marked by all family virtues, is a badger with his inquisitive wife. It seemed that nothing could disturb the lovely family idyll, but suddenly someone scary and prickly tries to penetrate into someone else's house. It's a porcupine. What's going to happen next? But nothing special actually happened. The porcupine, trying not to wake up his neighbors, quietly went to his room in the communal apartment, curled up and fell asleep.
Но то, что пара барсуков и дикобраз живут в одной норе,
The fact that badgers and porcupines peacefully coexist in one hole is actually very interesting. But the science that studies animal behavior, called ethology, explains it. If another badger invades the other badger's area, there would be a deadly battle. But it does not perceive an animal of a different kind as a food and sexual competitor. Maybe it's even safer for them to live next door. The porcupine has his own burrow, so they do not interfere with each other. At the end of the expedition, all the members of the survey group summarized their notes in the diaries in order to calculate how many large wild animals they have met in the Sayram Ugam Natural Park during this week. It turned out that there were more than 200 of animals. This is a very good indicator. It's a little sad for us to leave this wonderful place and say goodbye to our new friends, but the permanent outdoor Kazakhstan TV expedition is waiting for new, no less interesting natural, cultural and historical objects.